I do because I created it for myself. I'm not sitting up feeling sorry for myself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't, that's not what I'm about. So I'm
Mhm.
about execution and taking action. And I think that it can be very draining if you're around that type of energy. That's why I love the live event on Sunday. Like even if I feel sick and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm like so tired, I'm just sick. Just get on there and it's like, okay, we got like people from all over, like they're killing it. And
Yeah.
we always have like a special guest who like every guest we've ever had, I can relate to something that they shared.
Hmm.
No, and it's like, okay, these people are like really like, especially when it was like somebody who was like they were just getting it straight up out the mud. Like the one lady, she was like super broke. This was a couple weeks
Hmm.
ago. I forgot her name, but she was a lady and she was super, super broke, like broke. And
Hmm.
she was, she met somebody and, through PPLSI and they were like, just like what you want to do. I think she was like some type of like fitness trainer or something like that. And she was like, no, I really don't want to do this. And they invited her to a conference. And
Hmm.
she was like really super broke. And she was like, she didn't really have the money. She was like talking to her. She was like, man, I don't really have the money. It's like $200 or whatever it was. And the person who introduced her was like, well, asked her like, well, do you just want to keep doing this or do you want to like try to do something else? And she basically, took a plunge, took a leap of faith and was like, I'm going to get $200 more in debt and I'm just going to try to see what it does, and then it took off from there for her. Which is like significant because you think about it, like, she probably really had to like talk herself into it like damn, I'm just really in a bad spot right now, like can I really afford to do this? And then she probably just said to herself like how can I afford not to do it,
Hmm.
like $200 is not going to change my life. I mean, I'm already in debt, so what's $200 more dollars?
Yeah. I mean, entrepreneurship is interesting because oftentimes when you meet people, especially in the beginning of their entrepreneur journey, I mean, let's just face it, most people start entrepreneur endeavors out of necessity. They do.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's been my experience. And I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs over 20 years. And 9 times out of 10 is not, I think it's a good ideal. Let me try it. More times than not, it literally is, I got to make a change, right? And there's some type of trauma, drama, there's some type of something spurring them. A lot of times, of course, it's financially. A lot of times, I want to get out of different environments. So it can be very easy when you are engaging with especially new entrepreneurs. But I mean, look, entrepreneurs also have a high suicide rate. Thank God I have not had to deal with that myself personally or anyone close to my circle. But I
I
mean,
didn't know that. I didn't know that
yeah,
entrepreneurs had a high rate of suicide.
yes, indeed.
Oh
Entrepreneurs
wow.
have a higher rate of suicide than the average Joe.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Wow.
and if you think about it, it's easy to understand, right? For a lot of us as entrepreneurs, like it's entrepreneur for a lot of us, entrepreneurship for a lot of us is like activism.
Hmm.
And activists wear their feelings, their beliefs on their sleeves, right? And it makes them accessible. So if you can hurt an entrepreneur or an activist sense of purpose, or if you can somehow make a person feel diminished, they take it personally, right? And it's the same thing as an entrepreneur. It's like if your business isn't doing well, if you're not getting the successes that you're taking aim at, if you start facing undue criticism, if people start hating on you, and especially sometimes it'll come in waves, you start feeling some kind of way about yourself. And as a result, so a lot of people can't take the stress if they don't have that support system, right? And they're not involved in activities or communities or collectives or doing things that give them energy. I was talking to an entrepreneur some weeks ago, and I remember like we got into it. Like we got to a big time argument because the person was frequently sharing the drama, the trauma, the conflict they were going to in present tense. And they were like, well, I'm just living my truth. But I was like, look, you got to understand the game that you're playing. Like, you trauma bonding with people and you stressing out and being angry about personal things that are going on and things that are going to your business, it does not serve you. And to be transparent with you, it really does not serve the people around you or the people that you want to reach. Number one, nobody wants to do business with a shipwreck. We like watching train wrecks. We don't want to do business with a train wreck. Number two, this is just my belief. It doesn't mean you don't seek out help. It does not mean you don't seek out support. But some people are sharing too much. Like, you really have to understand that it's your victory you should be sharing. Right? You go through the trauma, you go through the BS.com, you go through what you need to go through, you come out victorious, and then you tell people after the fact the trauma or drama that you're going through. Because now you're a success story. And now you're proof that those things can be overcome. Now you can actually provide people a blueprint or a track to run on to overcome those issues. But when you're going through the ish, it's not good to, I know, because you can get likes and people trauma bond with you and you get all these comments. Sometimes you'll get comments you don't want either. Be very careful about that.
Oh yeah, you can get some very nasty
Yes.
comments. I've seen it on some people's social media, like so much just absolute hate and bitterness. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, like rather than even if you didn't like this person or whatever it was, just keep scrolling. Why even use the energy to
Mm-hmm.
like put something that hostile and bitter into the atmosphere?
Yeah.
You see it a
I mean,
lot, you
yeah.
know.
Like, I don't know. There's this funny clip running around with Johnny Depp. He's in a vehicle and the person's asking him in so many words, I guess, does he hate his ex-wife? Does he hate all the bad things that happened where at the end of the day it was found out that it was untrue, all these accusations and the attempts people made to smear his name. And he kind of jokingly says, man, hate is an expensive emotion. It requires that you care. And I just rather not care. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't get it either. I mean, if you are busy, if you are really building, I remember we kind of had this conversation a couple of days ago, but if you're in your thing, I don't have time to even keep tabs on other people anyway. I
Makes
don't,
sense.
I don't even have time to hear what my haters are saying. Now, I'll engage people because I want to know where am I dropping the ball, right? I want feedback. I want to know what could have made your experience different or better with me. But I mean, people are just hating for the sake of hating. People are just animus for no apparent reason. Like, I don't, sometimes I'm not even aware of it. Maybe that's a bad thing. It has been bad. I mean, it's bit me a couple times, but for the most part, I don't care. I don't have time. Like, I'm very much focused on improving today and with my sight on the future. And if you are in your business, you don't have time to absorb that. But man, it's just so much more. I'm not gonna say it's edifying because it's not healthy, but you get so much more reinforcement when you spend time in the negative. And what I told them is like, look, you got to start doing things and spending your time doing things that give you energy, that motivate you, that because you are what you think, you attract what you think, you vibrate. And I was like, you got to get around other people who are leveling up, other people who are having success, other people who wake up with a spirit of gratitude and positive expectation. You have to, I mean, I did this yesterday. I met with a business owner whom I knew was just winning. And I was like, let's chop it up. Let's get together, see what you're doing. Let's compare notes, see what I'm doing, et cetera, et cetera. And for me, it was so invigorating. I mean, we're in totally different industries. We're in totally different markets. We have totally different things going on, but just that back and forth about, okay, this is what's working for me. This is what I'm doing. Okay, this is what's working for me. This is what I'm doing. How can we help each other? For me, that's invigorating. You got to get yourself around people like that. Because if you hang around duds, and you've heard me say this a million times, you hang around six cursing cousins, become the seventh. You hang around a bunch of dull people, they say iron sharpens iron. That's a lie. Sharp iron. Somebody, you got to be around sharp iron. A bunch of dull knives will dull you if you rub up against them too often. And those are some of the things I've been thinking about, and conversations I've been having with entrepreneurs. Like, you got to put yourself in different spaces. Go to the gym. You know, just find ways to motivate and inspire yourself. Something I'm getting ready to do now is there's a couple neighborhoods here in Detroit Metro, and they're out of my price range. I don't have the means to go out and buy a $2 or $3 or $5 million house, but I'm about to drive through those neighborhoods anyway. Next time there's an open house, I'm gonna let the real estate agent know, look, I don't want to waste your time. I want you to know I am here window shopping. Right. I just wanted to see
I
what
mean, yeah, but that's what open houses are for.
yeah,
Like I'm saying, like that's what it's for, is for you to window shop. So,
yeah,
I mean that, and two, to like network, because
yes,
I feel like even when I get people who they're straight up not interested, like that's cool. But like I'm doing so many other things. Let's chop it up. What are you doing?
yeah,
I mean, like it's just a great way to like meet somebody new and get to know that person, or even the neighbors. Cause like a lot of times we'll door knock too when we're doing the open houses, let them know that we're doing it. So another way to just meet people. That's all.
yeah. But for me, this it's worthwhile. It gives me something to aspire to. It motivates, right? To see how other people are living. And I remember like it was yesterday. Man, that 4 years ago, maybe five. I'm trying to remember, was it East Indian Village? It may have been. I think it was East Indian Village this time. Anyway, there was an open house taking place, walking through the house, and for whatever reason, usually the seller isn't there. At least the times I've gone and done things, like the seller was there. And I was able to go in the basement. Of course, he has a pool table in the basement, has a barber shop in the basement, has a boardroom in the basement. Um, in addition to barber chairs, there's also another side where there was a salon. So, they were crushing it. And just to hear what he did for a living and to talk to him about his day to day and how he was able to achieve what he achieved, to be able to live in that kind of space. And that was like his third or fourth house. And to have that conversation, understand, for me, that was invigorating, motivating, right? And that's something I look to do as frequently as possible. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we owe it to ourselves to do it. I'm curious. So, what do you do when you're feeling some kind of way about what you have going on? What do you do to reinvigorate yourself? What are some of the strategies or tactics you employ when you reach that point where you're just like, what, I'm not feeling this?
Um, I try to take some self-inventory and think about um what it is that I could have done differently to, execute better. Um, I will ask other people who maybe I respect how they would have handled a situation. Like if I feel like I totally blew it,
Mm-hmm.
I ask, people who I respect, other people, even mentors too, like, hey, how would you handle this? Or what do you think of that? And like you, I like to be around people who are positive, motivated, even if they're not in this field. Like I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs. Like I have a girlfriend who she's got like a nail business and she's opening up a school, and I didn't even know where she was at in the process, but I had seen her on a live on Instagram and I was like, oh my God, like I just text her like, I'm so proud of you. Like this is like so awesome what you're doing. I like to be around other people who are, doing things, taking chances, taking risks, and talking with them too, about what they have going on. And a lot of times, if it's someone who I find, very, very intelligent, I'll be taking notes when they're talking, and I'll take notes in my phone, like meet up with so and so, and I'll be taking notes about, whatever we're discussing, things that come up. And then I'll look them over. And sometimes I'll get ideas about different things I want to do. I'm a big YouTuber. I love watching
Mm-hmm.
certain people on YouTube. I love like Bigger Pockets, like we already talked about that.
Yeah.
I like a oldie but goodie, Mike Ferry. Love him to death. He is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love watching his videos. And then there's a couple other people that I like to watch. Or if I'm just curious about something, like how somebody did something, I'll watch, specifically about that. So I definitely do that, or I'll just try to engage in like a networking event where meeting different people that are doing, X, Y, and Z. But I'm always trying to protect my energy and my peace. Like you were talking about trauma bonding and like all the like negativity and stuff. I try to refrain from posting anything negative, whether it's a review about something, unless it was just egregious and an outrage. I try to, keep whatever I'm posting, whatever I'm putting out as like positive. And if I'm going through something that sucks, I try to like keep it close to the vest. I don't feel like, I feel like there's very few people that can really, give me like, okay, because I've been operating in the space for a long time. Like I know what to do and I know what not to do. So I'm not going to try to like put something out there that's like, negative, whatever. I'm just going to try to do damage control, pivot. And then, and plus too, when you have a lot of things going on, just like if one thing is going sour, like you have all these other things that you're doing as well. So you can focus on those things and maybe even take a break from it because I have done that before. Like I had a time where in my contracting, I just had a series of like really crappy things that occurred, jobs that didn't go well, losses that the company took. And I was like, you know what? I'm burnt out from this. I'm going to focus on these other service lines that we offer. And that's what I did. And in doing that, those businesses took off and grew organically, and it helped my self-esteem and my drive to go back to the other business that was like, kind of wearing on me. And like even when people would hit me up about stuff, I would be like, oh, I'm kind of taking a break from that. I'm kind of like burnt out from it. And it gave me a lot of energy because when I came back to it, I like went, full throttle and was able to get, some different projects and stuff. And what I noticed too is a lot of the people who were draining my energy,
Mm,
once I took a hiatus and I was no longer working with them, everything kind of shifted and got way better. And even getting rid of clients who are what I call headache money. Um,
mm,
I really have made a decision in for 2025, and I was talking with someone who I've collaborated with in Ohio, because that's where I got my start in the contracting businesses in Ohio. I had made a comment and I was like, I don't want any headache money because it's someone who I really respect, a celebrity who had made that comment. And I was like, oh my God, he just totally made me have an epiphany. Like, really, really, for real, for real. That is exactly where I'm at mentally. Like, I'm not starving. I have, many different things I'm doing, many different streams of income coming in. And so if I'm going to do something, it needs to make sense for me. And it needs to be something that I feel good about and not something that's giving me a headache, making me feel annoyed, irritated. Um,
mhm.
that person's calling me or what I'm dealing with their situation. I'm just like, ugh, not this again. I don't want to be in that space. So I try to avoid those situations. I actively try to avoid it. If I get that whiff that that's how it's going to go, I won't even engage because it's really important too for me to protect my energy and my mental peace.
Yeah, I'm looking through my phone now because I mean you already know how I am. I just get up and go to work.
Hmm.
So I know I won this trip, but as you already aware of, I don't remember where the trip is at. I
Hmm.
think you sent me a text to remind me where I'm going. Um, but as I'm looking for this next trip, I'm thinking about the one I took to Mali. And the thing is, I almost did not go because I was with the mindset that look, I don't have time for vacations. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. Um, I need to build because it was at a period in my life where like everything was like strenuous. Like it wasn't check to check, but it was like, dag, man, I'm grinding really hard to earn this revenue. And I feel like my work is above and beyond what I was being compensated. I didn't think it was a commensurate exchange. So I was like, I'm not going on this trip. And then I took this trip to Maui that I earned. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. And since then, I've made up my mind that every 3 to 4 months, I'm going out of town. I'm going somewhere, even if it's just a 4 hour drive away, or okay, it's overseas, or it's on the other side of the United States. I mean, you got to do that for yourself. But I'll tell you the thing that messed me up while I was there, and why it's so valuable, at least for me, to take these trips. Because yeah, I had a great time. You're in the sun. It's beautiful. It's beautiful people. People loving their lives. They're getting in. They're laughing. You're having exchanges with people that you're crushing it with. But being on that island and finding out that people just send their kids there, like the way people send their kids to YMCA, right? Being on that island and realizing people take those kind of trips once a month or once every 2 months. Like I was surrounded by people where this was just their lifestyle, right? The way that people go to restaurants periodically throughout the course of a week, this is just how they live and how they get down. And to have conversations with these people and find out that many of them are just everyday folk, not particularly intelligent, not particularly gifted, definitely hardworking, definitely industrious, but man, they just make decisions differently. They spend their time differently. They build differently. Like the trip, yeah, once again, the sunshine was great. The food was great. Look, I'm grateful for all of that. But I'll tell you, some of the relationships that came out of that trip and chatting with people who are winning in business have made the biggest impact. And I came back from that trip, I could not look at any of my surroundings the same again. I couldn't look at my friends group around. I couldn't look at my peer group the same. I couldn't look at where I was living at, what I was driving. Nothing felt the same anymore. I felt like way too big for the circumstances I was dealing with. And I think that's part of what drove me to have that 6 month period of time where I really ran up the bag in my business. Like part of it was I'm sick and tired of what's going on in my life and conflict and all this other stuff. But that trip did it too. Like I was like, I'm too big for this. Like I'm beyond this. I work too hard, too talented. Um, I give too much. I bring too much value. I gotta switch up, right? Um, I shared something too with the person I was talking about earlier. I have a vision statement. So it's not just affirmations, but it's literally a vision statement that I worked on, and I wrote it as if 3 years was today, right? So all the things I want to accomplish for the next 3 years, I wrote that vision statement. And whenever things are going sideways, I read that vision statement to remind me to kind of recalibrate, readjust, right? I shared that with that person as well. It's something I just strongly encourage entrepreneurs to do because, especially in the beginning, or if you're making a pivot, or if you're making a transition, or if you decide to level up, most of the people around you are going to be naysayers. Most of the people around you are going to be looking at you, whether you've been in business for 2 minutes or whether you've been in business for 20 years. They're going to look at you, and basically what they're saying indirectly is, who are you to do that? Right? You're going to fail. You're not going to succeed, especially if you're doing something that it's just not typical, right?
Yes.
The the reaction is, no, that's not going to work. And what you have to contend with is, in your first 2 weeks, you know what? Those people are right. It ain't working. The first month, they're right. I mean, the naysayers are right. The haters are right. It's not working. The third month, it's not working. 6th month, 9th month, maybe even a year. All this hard work you're putting in is not manifesting. And we as entrepreneurs, we know that we put in work in the beginning that we don't really expect to get rewarded for, so we can get rewarded later on down the line for work we don't have to do. But still, even knowing that, you're exerting all this energy to get these things done, and it's not happening, your haters are right. And you have to remind yourself, you have to give yourself grace. You have to have, and people have all kinds of strategies. Like they have their affirmations on their, in their, bathroom windows, screensavers, phones, planners. They have them everywhere, but you have to be constantly reminding yourself of the reason why you're doing the things you do and the rewards associated with it. And you also not only have to be able to see yourself winning and what that looks like in the accoutrements to your success, you actually have to see yourself enthusiastically doing the work. Right. So when people are vision planning, they oftentimes leave that part out, right? It's like, okay, I'm here today. This is where I'm going to be 3 years from now, 3 months from now, 1 year from now, 2 years from now. But what they don't envision is themselves enthusiastically doing the work. That's so important, right? At least I believe that's important. That's been a huge part of allowing me to stay motivated when you're flying against the face of, what's the opposite of momentum? Stagnation,
Right.
fatigue. I'm trying to think of some nice synonyms,
Right.
but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm talking about. What else you got? What else? I'm curious. Like, what have you seen other people do that's positive?
Also too, what I do too is I make time for myself, like how you were saying, like the people who are treating themselves with the trips and stuff, I make time to treat myself too. Um, because I feel like it's very important that you do self-care,
Mm.
um, mental health, um, things like that. So,
You know, and once again, this is sometimes I've gotten into it with people about this, right? Because you have on one side of the spectrum people who are like, plan your work around pampering yourself, plan your work around um, making sure that you're taking trips and making sure that you're having weekends off, making sure you're doing all these things. And I remember people would say those things and it would drive me crazy. Like I remember I went to a entrepreneurship workshop. It was years ago. And I'm sitting listening to the panelists. And I can tell in the first 15, 20 minutes, I could tell none of the panelists were entrepreneurs. They were just professionals working for organizations that support business owners, or if they were entrepreneurs, they were part-time. And there's nothing wrong with part-time. But it was like I'm listening to them and they're talking about how, people who work all the time, 24/7, or go through these periods of extreme pressure and turmoil, like they're doing themselves a disservice. And any entrepreneur knows, no, that's not the case. Like you have to do what your business requires of you, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to eat tomorrow, right?
right. Mhm.
Um, and so, I felt like for a long time people were over indexing on that. So I think with me, I over index on the opposite side. Like, damn that pampering, damn that taking 3 and 4 days off every now and again. And you have work to do, you have projects, you have deadlines, you have to execute. It's like, how about you get to your first 100K first? How about you get there first before you start blowing 5, 10, and $20,000 on trips and pampering yourself over the course of the year, right? Win first. Run up the bag. Have a business that's generating revenues. Get your operations together. Get your sales management together. And then once you've gone through that season, okay, then take a look at investing yourself in that type of way. I think now, today, I still feel that way, but I allow for the fact that, yeah, every now and again, you do have to give yourself a day off. Like you do, or you have to schedule the downtime. I said downtown, so I'm thinking about where I'm about to go. Well, I'm thinking about work in the midst of this, right?
Right.
But anyway, you have to schedule some downtime.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah, it's like, I watch a lot of National Geographic. I've been doing that since I was a little kid. I love National Geographic. And, you'll have these scenes where the predator, whether it's the leopard or the lion or the cheetah, whatever the case may be, right? I like watching lions hunt because I think it's more akin to what entrepreneurs have to do, right? And what ends up go through. And most of the prey that lions chase down, the prey is faster than them. Like the prey is going to outrun that lion 9 times out of 10, the type of prey they want to go after. So whether it's, zebra, whether it's a hog, whatever the case may be, most of the animals are going to be outrun, and or buffalo in particular. Even though they can sometimes catch, but even like good shape buffalo can typically outrun one lion. One lion can really get it done majority of the time. So particularly what the lionesses will do is one lioness will set a trap, another one will set a trap, another set a trap, another one will set a trap, and they'll just run and take turns, right? And they don't catch the animal because the animal is slower than them. They catch the animal because the animal's muscles go into an anaerobic state, right? Starts working off oxygen, starts running off glucose, and eventually it's like working out, or if you play a sport, you start cramping up, things start getting tight, you start fatiguing faster, and then after the third or fourth chase, now the lions have their meal, right? And entrepreneurs go through a lot of the same things, right? We're running, 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 running. The lions are chasing us. So whether it's expenses, the competition, whatever challenges we're dealing with, and you have to, I've accepted the fact that you cannot just continue to run in an anaerobic state. You have to give yourself time to recover, or you're going to break something. You're going to break emotionally, you're going to break physically, mentally, something's going to break. And so, yeah, I do kind of now allow for that more so than I ever have before. I don't know whether or not it's age, or maybe because I've reached a point in my business where it's not constant. If I don't do this, I'm not going to eat tomorrow, right? The business is starting to operate more like a business. So it doesn't require that I get up every single day and do something Herculean to be successful. So I can feel you on that.
I
I
think
like
too
I
with the
like
lioness, they utilize the pack
Yep.
to, so like we were talking at one of our mini talks
Mm-hmm.
about the lone wolf
Mm-hmm.
being dead, and one of my mentors, he used to always say that, like, he's an older gentleman. He's been doing business like entrepreneur for like 40 years. He started in the 70s. But I think it just shows you strategically, like you were saying, like how when they're putting something together, they utilize the pack. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just the same thing with entrepreneurs. You have to utilize your like tools you can to collaborate. If you've got a team, you've got other people that you could collaborate with or work with, you have to utilize, all of the tools in your toolbox in order to get the desired result, as opposed to trying to go after it by yourself. You get more out of it when you collaborate and utilize those tools. And I think that's really kind of important for people to understand too, in this operating in this space. You can't be a one-man army or a one-woman army. You have to have a team. You have to be able to delegate things out. If you don't, your business won't grow. You will not thrive. It's just inevitable. And also, too, you can't cut corners. I deal with people who want to cut corners all the time, just a variety of different situations. And one thing I've learned is there's only one way to do things, and that's the right way. Anytime you're cutting a corner,
Mm-hmm.
trying to do something, you might feel initially like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm winning. I didn't have to spend this money to do blah, 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 blah. But then later on, when it comes back, you're like, damn, now I got to do X, Y, and Z. And especially in the real estate and contracting space, you see it so often where you're just like, yep, told you so.
Mm-hmm.
Now what? So yeah, it's definitely something to think about, and to apply, obviously.
Yeah, I know it's going to sound counterintuitive, but doing the hard is self care. Like doing the hard is self-care. It's like a lot of the entrepreneurs and business owners around, I can't recall. Like I've heard two or three talks recently where people were talking about that. I think Alex Mosley might have been the most recent where I heard him talking about this. But people spend so much time looking for the shortcut, so much time looking for the easy way out, so much time just avoiding the thing that's required that it just becomes so painful and arduous. I mean, it's like what I try to communicate to entrepreneurs and business owners I work with, it's like launching a business or once again, deciding to level up is akin to an airplane taking flight, right? If you've been on an airplane before, most of the turbulence, God willing, is on a liftoff, right? Because that plane has to expend so much fuel, so much power and energy to get high enough off the ground so it can avoid the trees and power lines, right? And poles and things and buildings.
Another
That's why.
plane.
And then when it gets to a certain altitude, then it can kind of trail off a little bit, expend less fuel because now inertia, momentum, right? Universal forces allow that plane not to expend as much energy. And entrepreneurship is the exact same way. It's like I see so many business owners, and if you don't expend the right type of energy, if you don't do things right, if you're looking for shortcuts, if you just don't do the hard and get it over with, that's when you start hitting trees. That's when you start hitting the power lines. That's when you start hitting the buildings. That's when you start becoming susceptible when life starts lifing and haters start hating and challenges just start happening. Like you feel everything because you haven't reached an altitude. You haven't built up a certain type of momentum or inertia where it doesn't matter what's in front of you. You just push or slide or fly right over it. And, I'm seeing that more and more. It's like people are always, I shouldn't say that, I don't always want to generalize. Don't want to generalize because that's not the case for everybody. But too often, yeah, people are not looking to do the hard. And doing the hard, if you just stop, if you just get to it, right? I'm thinking about a business owner now that I'm getting ready to do an open house with. And I told him, I was like, look, bro, you need to pick up that phone and invite your people to this open house. It's like, man, I want to send an email and I want to do this and I want to do that. I said, no, pick up the phone. He says, but that will be 9 more time consuming. I said, yes, it will be more time consuming. It will be more difficult. But you cannot convince me that an email is going to motivate someone and it's going to be more poignant than you picking up the phone and saying, look, this is important to me. I'm having this open house. I want to work with people like you. You're my friend. You're my fam. You're someone who I like, know, and trust. These are the people I'm inviting to my open house. Look, you don't have to come out and buy anything. Just come out and support me, right? Come out and just learn what it is that I'm doing. Versus sending an email that someone may or may not look at or that someone may dismiss. And, we all know it's harder to say no to someone verbally than when you send a text or email.
Oh, absolutely.
And, I was telling them, I was like, you're going to do this email text thing 3, 4, 5 different times. No one's going to show up to your open house because the majority of people aren't going to see the email or they're going to dismiss it. Right. And it's going to take you 3 to 6 months to really get the momentum, to get the success you're looking for, when you could just find slithers of time and just make the phone calls, right, to your people. And I mean, that's just like a little small thing. That's a small example, but I mean, like you said, you can see it across industries, not just in the contracting industry. Like people in general, it's like they really don't want to do the work.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think engagement is the number one thing that you need whenever you are trying to get anybody interested in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like a text is not going to do it. An email is not going to do it because I'm like bombarded with emails on a daily basis. Like right
Yeah.
now on my phone, it says 29,986. And that's not even a real number because I have so many different email addresses and just getting bombarded with emails. I think the best way to engage is face to face or like, like a actual conversation. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's just the way to do it. So
Yeah.
you can lead them to the water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah. And I like, and we've had this conversation before too. It's like people want to use social media, and I compare it to like sending out mail, right? We know statistically, if you send out 1,000 pieces of mail promoting or marketing something, you'll be lucky if, I mean, you are extremely fortunate if 10% take a look at it, open up the mail.
Mhm.
And I mean, you're crushing it if 1% um, of all the mail you send out, you actually get one or two prospective clients, right? For every 1,000 pieces of mail. And for me, it's the same thing with social media. Like social media is a beautiful thing because it can make your business easier. But you have to understand the amount of volume of content that you have to create to put out there to get the results that most business owners are looking for. I don't think they get that, right? And so because of that, you are better off, especially when you're launching many times, particularly if you're in a service industry, um, getting out there and, like you said, picking up the phone, engaging people belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball, having those conversations, right? And that's just such a huge part. Because I see a lot of business owners, like I said again, I mean, we talk about staying motivated, keeping energy up high. A lot of it's just people grinding themselves into the ground unnecessarily. I'm glad you shared that. I mean, something I was thinking about too, which I'm going to do. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to do it now or maybe later on this evening, probably this evening. Um, and I'm careful about this conversation because people get upset, right? When we talk about this, but this idea of fitness, right? I've become more and more willing to have this conversation, particularly with the entrepreneurs that I work with. It's like, look, you got to get to the gym, or you at least got to walk, or you have to run, get a bike. I don't care. Do push-ups, do planks, do manual, do squats without weights. But you have to get your body moving. You have to get your body moving.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I think
And
it
even,
helps you mentally too. Like I think you
mhm,
have to have that's part of your self-care regiment. Period.
yeah.
Is making sure that you take care of yourself first. Because if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of other people? Especially if you have a family and people who are dependent on you, children, a spouse, extended family, whoever, pets. If you're not taking care of yourself, and obviously and I know, especially because in the Black and Brown community, there's a lot of illnesses and different things that affect us that don't affect other people, like diabetes, high blood pressure, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
But your health is your wealth, and if you don't take control of it, you definitely putting yourself in a bad spot. So, like a
Mhm.
part of my daily is I take vitamins. I try to do at least 6,000 steps a day. I have an app on my phone that monitors my activity. So I walk my dogs. Of course we have a backyard, but I just prefer to walk them because it's exercise for me and for them, and it's time for us to bond and engage as well. Um,
Mhm.
and sometimes we'll jog when it's like nice, too. So we'll switch it up. And then I do, different stuff too. Like I used to go to the gym, but I just have a gym in my basement now, and I just use that. I do
There it is.
a variety of stuff. And the main thing is because it just saves me time. And
Uh, and
sometimes,
I'm curious, like 6,000 steps.
yes. Mhm.
So help me out. 6,000 steps is equivalent to what? How many
Um,
miles?
6,000 steps is equivalent to, so I just did it yesterday. I did like 6,092. Let me see.
So you did the south. So it's not like you counted 6,000 steps
No, the
over the
app
course
does
of
it.
the
The
day,
app
but
does
you
it.
got,
The app does it for me. I like to slum sometimes, so I do have an Android phone as well. I am an iPhone
you
snob.
are
So
hilarious.
just to put that out there for everybody, I am an iPhone snob and I do prefer Mac products. However, I do like to slum on occasion, and I do have an Android phone. Here it is. Got a fancy case and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So the app is a Samsung Health, and so what it does is it will track your steps for you. Okay. And so for yesterday, I did 6,056, and that's the equivalent to 2.7 miles.
Interesting.
Yep. And then it just breaks everything down for you. And if you wanted to, you could input your food intake, input your water intake. You could monitor so many different things on this particular app. On this, yeah, you could do. And if you're doing treadmill, if you're doing running, whatever you're doing, sleep, how much sleep you took, you can pretty much, you can keep track of the medications you're taking, your menstrual cycle. You can keep track of your stress level, all your blood pressure, blood glucose, heart rate, blood oxygen, like all these different things you can monitor on this. And then they have like breathing exercises, meditation, mood check-in, like all on this app or whatever. So I think it's important for people.
Interesting. What's the name of that app?
The app is called Samsung Health, and it's got like a lady look like she's running. It's this icon right here.
Okay.
Um, I like it and I use it daily, just to monitor, like I said, my activity. And like I used to go to the gym all the time. But pre-COVID, the gym I was going to, there was like a lot of like trolls there, just like weird people.
Pros in the gym.
Yeah, like, me and a girlfriend, another business owner, would work out and stuff. And it was like we really couldn't even get a workout in because we were just being constantly harassed and bombarded with people.
I got you. People
Oh,
come.
hey, let me show you how to do that. Or, hey, you look nice today. Like just stuff you don't want to hear at the gym. It's like, bro, I'm here. Like I got on a ring, like largate. But so during COVID, everything shut down. I'm like, I'm just gonna like get my own, together over here. Cause I already had a
Mhm.
treadmill. So I just got a treadmill, I've got free weights, hula hoop, Pilates bar. And then, I like to do a lot of different stuff. I'll do like cardio salsa, I'll do free weights. I'll do Pilates. I do shadow boxing, 'cause I have boxing gloves too. Think about people I want to punch. Yeah, quite a few of them out there. And
Mhm.
on that list, you know who you are.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'll do that. Just try to, do it, just do different stuff,
Mhm.
on a regular and consistent basis. But I do think like physical health and having a regimen that you adhere to is extremely important. On a scale from 1 to 10, I think it's a 12 because your mental is like your best tool in your toolbox is your mind. And so I think that's really super important. And too, especially if you've had people in your family who are ill, which I do, it's really super important that I take care of myself as much as I can because, some stuff is hereditary and just lifestyle. If you
Mhm.
know a lot of people who live a sedentary lifestyle, and of course that is offensive to certain people, especially in my family, there's like very offended by, blunt comments like that. They're like offended by it, so, but it's the truth.
And
And
people need to,
that duele. So it just is what it is.
yeah.
But it's super important to make sure that, you're putting your health first and, doing everything you can to be physically, mentally sharp. So,
I like it. I like it. I'm trying to think of any other things that I've implemented or that I know that other people implement. Healthy things.
oh, I also think too, like, having a list of things to do, like physically writing down lists.
Yes.
Very important. Like, of course, I utilize my phone for a lot too. Like, I'll set like alerts in my phone so that um, I can, like, today we have our scheduled podcast. Had to call a client to go over a couple things, did a follow up with somebody. Just the list goes on and on and on. So it's like you definitely, utilize those tools, but I do feel like writing down lists is super important. And if you have like multiple businesses or multiple things you're doing, like I have inside of my iPhone here, it's called reminders. And so you can set up like different notes for yourself. Like I've got one for PPLSI, I've got another one for my real estate, another one for my transactions. Like, you're like just keeping track of everything because it's so easy to forget something
Hmm.
if you've got lots of stuff going on. I noticed that with myself. I won't intentionally forget something. It'll just be like, oh damn, I forgot to do that. Let me write it down so I don't forget. Let me set a notification in my phone so I can take care of this, you know, um, immediately. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to you. It's so ridiculous. I didn't even think about this because I did it this morning. Like I purposely woke up this morning, and I have my morning routine, but I will admit, like I have not been as consistent as I normally am. Like normally, what I'll do is first thing in the morning is I'll read a good book. I'll knock down. I tell people 10 pages a day, but I'll probably knock down about 2 chapters in a book per day. Do it first thing in the morning. And lately, I've been kind of squeezing it in the afternoon or squeezing it in the evening. But I know for me, once afternoon and evening, like once 6, 7 o'clock hits, I'm like my brain starts shutting down for real. I'll work, I'll grind, but I don't want to. I get most of my best thinking. I'm in the best mood when I first wake up in the morning for the first 2 and 3 hours. And I did that today. I woke up, I said, damn this. I know I have A, B, C, and D to do, but I'm about to head to a favorite coffee shop of mine. And I'm gonna sit down here, I'm gonna read this book. And for me, that gives me energy, right? I think that's so important. Like I remember even when I was a teenager in my early 20s, and man, books saved my life because it's like I'm living in an environment in a neighborhood where I'm seeing people get shot. I'm seeing people catching L's. I'm seeing hardworking people not getting ahead. Um, I mean, it was just more reinforcement to do negative things, nihilistic things, things that don't contribute to, let's just say, uplifting yourself and your community. It was so much easier to fall into those things. Um, and if you're not inclined to participate, it's like, what you gonna do? And I remember like books were kind of like my refuge. And it's still the same today. Like I have conversations with people where I feel like I have to wash the conversations off me. And for me, books are a way of doing that. And it's also kind of like Teflon, right? That's what I would call it. Reading books, especially for me in the morning, is like putting on a coat of Teflon, right? So when the negativity, when the tough conversation happens, when I come across somebody who is trying to trauma bond, it's like, no, 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 no. I can't let this stick to my psyche today. Can't believe I didn't remember to talk about that or mention it.
well, yeah, because the trauma bonding equals energy drain.
Yeah.
It's like an energy draining activity, like an energy vampire, because we all have traumas and negative things that have happened professionally and personally. And I think dwelling on the negative does, like you said, it doesn't serve you. Like the other person who you were talking about who was doing that, it's like
Mhm.
you said, it's fun to watch a train wreck, but you don't want to do business with one. So if it seems like your personal life is in a shambles and total fracaso, or your business life is, the same, it's like, okay, so do I want to align myself with this person? Absolutely not, because the
Mm-mm.
trauma is going to spill over into what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to lose time, I'm going to lose energy and possibly resources. And that's definitely not what I want. So I think that's really super important for people to just thug it out.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
isn't easy. Like we're making it look easy, but I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a returning citizen. Like, and it's just like, yeah, like I'm making it look easy, but it's not. It's not easy.
Mm.
We've all had like downtime, deals that went sideways, people that wasted your time,
Mm.
taking losses, taking L's, like where you're just like, oh my God, like why me? Um, or just feeling, particularly like bitter about a situation because of how it turned out. Like, man, this right here, man, oh my God. But like you just gotta, take the bitter with the sweet, take your lumps and keep it pushing. You can't dwell on the negative. You have to use it as like a pivot tool or a learning tool.
Mm-hmm.
Like look at it objectively. Like, okay, this is how I wanted it to be, this is how it turned out. And you could probably share that experience with people, in the right setting,
Yep.
but not dwelling on it, harping on it. You have to be goal and solution orientated, not, sitting in the mud and just, trying to make mud cakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important too. That's a skill set that is super important as an entrepreneur. You have to, have to have that skill set.
Yeah. It reminds me of the momentum call we had a couple Sundays. I think it may have been, it was. This very rarely happens, but I actually had an epiphany listening to Kim Million. She said something, I've heard it a million times, but I applied it in a very myopic way, right? So you'll hear people say, as an entrepreneur, you are compensated commensurate with the problems you solve. So the bigger the problems you solve, the more you earn. And for me, when I would hear that, I would just take aim at the problems in my business, right? So my sales aren't enough. Okay, let me pull this lever. Things are looking more difficult than it should be. Okay, let me pull this lever. I'm doing too much. Okay, let me delegate that. Um, I'm bumping my head on this. Let me learn this. Let me invest in this tool to do that. And this conversation, it kind of triggered it. When I was listening to her, was that last month? Man, Sunday's just, I feel like the year is over with already. I know it's April, but I already feel like the year is over with.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. Because it's like, I don't want to digress, but okay. Because here's the thing. I have my goals set for 2025 in October, November 2024. So, and for me, with a lot of my goals, I knew there was groundwork that needed to be set where I would put certain things in motion, like dominoes, right? Knock one domino, hits the next, hits the next, hits the next, hits the next, hits the next. So I was lining up my dominoes. So January and February, even though the beginning of the year was really tough, it was really absurd. It was a lot of non-business stuff that was just like, tag, I got what? Like, what's going on? But anyway, but I've knocked those dominoes. And so the dominoes are just hitting one after the other, right? So my sequence and two of the verticals are just going. And it won't even make sense for me. I'm watching to see what happens, but evaluating whether or not I am really achieving the goal and just giving things time to cook, that evaluation process really isn't going to take place till September and October.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of feel like for me, in many respects, yeah, the year is almost over with because I've put in a lot of energy and effort in the beginning, and I'm just watching the dominoes, and I'm just letting it do what it do. I'm letting things cook the way it's supposed to cook, right? And so I'm already in my mind and my thinking, I'm already thinking critically about, okay, I've handled these steps, these things are happening. Okay, I'm about to make these strategic or tactical decisions. A lot of my next wave of decisions I have to make are going to happen in September and October, and I'm already there, right? A lot of the things I said, anyway. So that's why I kind of feel that way. What's that book out there, Patrick Bet David? I think you talk about your next 5 moves. Yeah,
That's what it's called.
yeah, it's a book by Patrick Bet David.
And it's called Your Next 5 Moves.
Yep, it is a excellent read.
He says Patrick David.
Patrick Bet David is the author. Next.
Have you ever read The Asian Mind?
I don't recall that one.
My
yeah, Patrick Bet David, Your Next 5 Moves.
Okay.
And I love that book. I've always known to do this. Did I loan somebody that book? I'm looking. I'm about to have to buy that book again. It's time I revisit it. I'm about to buy that book again. Um,
It came right up on Audible.
yeah,
Master
because
the Art of
because
Business
what
Strategy.
because what you want to do when you get in, what you want to do, like I don't like to have to react to things. Like I want to respond. I want to anticipate. I want to anticipate the next 4 or 5 months, next 4 or 5 years, next 4 or 5 steps. Right? It it's like it's like cooking. If you do certain things out of sequence, you're not going to get the meal you expect. Right? And business can be the exact same way. So this book has been so instrumental. Like the type of headaches and stresses and problems that will damage or side or put someone in a butt or get someone off their square. When those things happen, it's like there's no impact on me because I've already anticipated it. I've already anticipated the argument. I've already anticipated the conflict. I've already anticipated what the competition is going to do. I've already anticipated with certain people around me how they're going to respond and react to things. I know because I pulled this lever what the next 2, 3 things are going to happen next, right? That book like is highly, highly effective at getting you to look at your business in that way.
You
So
know
it's
what
a,
else is good? The one that you suggested, was that Building an Empire? Um,
and that's another one. Brian Carruthers, Building an
yeah,
Empire,
because
right?
I'm listening to that one right now, and I also like you and Mr. Peden kind of turned me on to something that I never really had done before,
Mm-hmm.
except for like maybe like one of my favorite books that I've read multiple times, Count of Monte Cristo.
Yep.
But I've never like listened to a chapter more than once, read a chapter over and over again, and I think that's super effective. Like even to just go back to a chapter and like take notes on whatever. I find it it's super, super helpful. And like with that one building an empire, there's a lot of things that he's talking about that I see you personally doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's super helpful. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And okay, so now I remember what I was getting at. So that conversation that Amelia had with us, the epiphany for me was she wasn't just talking about business. And when people say that, they're not just talking about what's going on in your business. Like as a business owner, you're not only compensated for the issues that you are able to overcome in your business, you are being compensated for the problems you are able to solve that are non-business related to. Because that's really what knocks business owners out the game, right? An addiction takes hold and you can't shake it. A conflict transpires and you can't extricate yourself from it. You fall into a depression and you don't have the resources around you to pull yourself out of it. Um, you get into some type of turmoil, one of your own making or one of somebody else's making, because people be co-signing conflicts they shouldn't be involved in sometimes, getting into conflicts with people and they don't even know the person are getting it because somebody else said something, the story changed 5, 6 different times before it got to you. You know, solving those type of problems. Family issues happen. I mean, you mentioned it. At some point you're going to take care of a family member. Somebody's going to call and need, like navigating all these different things. It's interesting. Like the more I reflect on this, and you and I have had this conversation a million times, business is easy. Or should I say, being successful in business is simple. Like we all know what to do. You know what to do at this point. With the majority of the work that I'm doing, I know what I should be doing, what I need to do, right? That's not the hard part. The hard part's executing because you got all these other influences and impacts and distractions working on you at the same time. And to me, it was interesting. Like when she said that, and I said, I've never, like I understand it, but I've never looked at it from that framework. And that's the biggest issue. Like when I think about the last three conversations where I'll be frank, I mean, if they're watching this, I'm sorry, but I had to wash myself off. I had to wash you off me. I had to take a shower mentally because
Oh God. Was that terrible?
man,
Oof.
oh man, it's like I've become that guy because, as you know, I keep a lot of situations and conflicts, and even people that I don't necessarily care for, don't, you know, I don't spend time hating on people, but I can't front. I do have a disaffinity for certain people. Um,
We all do. Of
I keep that to, I keep it to my vet. I just keep it to myself
course.
because I know time will promote or reveal you. So
Oh, absolutely.
so more times than not, I just let time work on people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Their true intentions and their true
yeah, and
everything is going to
yeah,
come right out. Like
yeah,
when you're first meeting somebody, it's their representative, not the actual.
yeah.
Yeah. Agree.
So
Personally or professionally.
yeah,
Agreed. Yep.
so I keep that stuff to myself, but it's more as I've told or talked about more of the things I've had to overcome in my entrepreneurial journey. I've noticed I'm beginning to occupy a space. Whereas when people have certain psychological, personal, emotional, family, relational issues, I'm becoming that person they come to, right? There's an entrepreneur a couple months ago who gave me a phone call who had like, man, he just had stuff going on. He's managing 3 and 4 different businesses. And there was a disconnect between the value prop and the work he was doing and what he really wanted to be doing versus what he found himself doing day to day. And it's like he gave me a phone call and I cleaned him up in like 5 minutes. I just kind of listened to him, like, what are your values? What are you focused on? What's important to you? What's the impact you want to make? How do you want to help people? What do you want life to look like 3, 5 years from now? And after he gave me the answers I needed, I just cleaned them up. You know what I mean? And got his head right, got him focused on the right thing. And I'm beginning to occupy that space more and more. And I'm like, I had to tell someone the other day, it's like, I'm not your psychologist, you're a psychiatrist. I'm not,
Absolutely.
and I'm
Yeah.
not a psychologist.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't mind helping you because I've overcome some pretty absurd stuff in my lifetime.
Mhm.
I have the alligator skin and I know tactically how to overcome issues and deal with people in a certain type of way. But um this past 2 weeks, man, I received phone calls from people who were really going through it. It was like stuff I had left behind years ago. I mean, that real sagging stuff, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that real like that guttural, that grimy, like forget the dirt, the mud type of stuff. And when each person, I have to tell them like, you got to stop playing in love with these people, right? What people will do, if you have to bend over to push someone down, or if you have to bend over and get in a mud fight with someone, even if you win, you lose because you're getting muddy too,
Absolutely.
right?
Just like we say, you never look good making somebody else look bad.
No,
It's like,
no,
professionally, especially, like, you may have situations where you have to like gun somebody down out of necessity, but
right,
you're never going to look good doing it. There's
no,
no like way to navigate that cleanly. Like you're not going to get out of the situation without being unscathed. That's
right.
impossible.
Because most people don't understand how savage you have to be successful.
I agree.
They don't understand. Like, they think we're out here playing flag football. It's like, no, sometimes you got to knock people's teeth out. They don't get it. Part of you has not even care that they don't get it. It's like, I'm sorry, I got to bloody this person and it's going to look nasty. It's going to be bloody knuckles and swollen faces.
Yeah. Scars,
But
scars
yeah,
on your ankles. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
this is what it's got to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
So
you have to be relentless. You have to really, it's just, you gotta thug it out.
yeah,
And
human beings, man, human beings. Like I'm thinking about this. Where is that book at? I was just looking, The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. I think I told you about that book, Sapiens. Like when you really study the history of how human beings really get down, what we're really hot wired to do,
Mhm.
man, human beings ain't nothing nice. Um, we can be nothing nice to each other sometimes, but to get back to what we were talking about before, that's why you have to spend time recharging yourself and finding ways to motivate and inspire you. Right. It,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Especially when you are a person who you do, resolution, conflict, problem solving, it can take a toll on you. So you definitely have to put yourself first,
Yeah.
all the time and, do self-care all the time, or and even if you get like an opportunity where you're like when it's nice out, I like to go by the water. I like to be by the water. I enjoy being by the water. If it's super nice out, even if I have stuff to do, I'll be like, you know what? YOLO, you only live once. I'm gonna
Mhm.
go do something for me, and just enjoy the day. Of course, I'm gonna get stuff done that I need to get done, but I mean, it's just those type of days that really make being an entrepreneur worthwhile. Because if you had to work a 9 to 5, you wouldn't have that ability to do that. You
No, not at all.
take that time and say, you know what? I'm going to Belle Isle. I want to hang out with my dog at Belle Isle. I want to go by the water, or I just want to, you know, do whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like enjoy the day. So you wouldn't have that opportunity, without wearing these shoes and walking in this space. And honestly, for me, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, it's not easy. It's a challenge, but I'm up for the challenge and I enjoy every minute of it. Even the ugly, the bad, the stuff
Hmm.
that went sideways, all the negative stuff. Take it in stride and keep it pushing. Because with all that stuff that happens, there's 100 more times positive stuff that occurs. You
Yeah.
know? So the good definitely outweighs the bad.
Cool.